The Galactic Alliance vessel Serene Harmony shuddered violently as the spatial anomaly tore through its hull. Captain Ta-1's knuckles turned white as he gripped his command chair. Warning lights flashed across the bridge as systems failed one after another. "Damage report," he shouted, his voice barely audible over the shrieking alarms. Chief Engineer Hyun pressed a cloth to her forehead, wiping away purple blood that oozed from a gash across her scaled skin. Her four eyes blinked rapidly, trying to focus on the emergency readouts. "Life support is failing," she replied, her voice steady despite the chaos. "We've lost quantum engines and main communications. Hull breach on decks 3 through 7. Ta-1 surveyed the bridge. The surviving crew members moved with practiced efficiency despite their fear. Medical Officer Jin tended to the wounded. Security Chief Dai sealed off damaged sections. Navigator Moon attempted to map their position in this uncharted sector. "Where are we?" Ta-1 asked. Moon's tentacles glided over her navigation console. "Unknown, Captain. The anomaly has displaced us approximately 70,000 light-years from our last known position." A heavy silence fell over the bridge as the implications became clear. They were hopelessly far from Alliance space. "Life support status?" Ta-1 asked, turning to Hyun. 8 days at current capacity," she replied. "Maybe 12 if we power down non-essential systems and seal off damaged sections." Communications Officer Jun worked frantically at his station, his 4 arms moving independently across the damaged console. His compound eyes reflected the dim emergency lighting as he looked up at the captain. "Quantum relay is completely destroyed," he said. "All we have is the auxiliary radio transmitter, technology no advanced civilization has used in centuries." Ta-1 nodded solemnly. "Send it anyway. Use all frequencies." "Sir," Science Officer Kang interrupted, her crystalline body reflecting light across the darkened bridge. "Radio waves in this region would take approximately 43 years to reach the nearest Alliance outpost." "I am aware of the limitations," Ta-1 replied quietly. "Send it anyway." Everyone understood the grim reality. They would be long dead before anyone received their message. But protocol demanded they try, and something in Ta-1 refused to die in silence. Jun composed the message, his voice calm as he recorded. "This is Galactic Alliance vessel Serene Harmony *. We have suffered catastrophic damage from a spatial anomaly. 8 crew members alive. Life support failing. Our position is unknown. This is Captain Ta-1 of the Galactic Alliance. If anyone receives this message, please inform Alliance Command of our fate." The message began broadcasting on repeat, simple radio waves expanding outward into the void at the speed of light. Far too slow to save them. "Everyone still with us?" Ta-1 asked, looking around the bridge. Security Chief Dai checked his tablet. "All accounted for, Captain. 8 survivors total. 8 survivors from a crew of 27. Ta-1 closed his eyes briefly, honoring the dead. "We should record final messages," Medical Officer Jin suggested gently. "For families." Ta-1 nodded. "Yes. Everyone will have time for personal recordings. But first, we must focus on extending our survival as long as possible." "Why?" Navigator Moon asked, her voice barely audible. "We're already dead." "Because we are Alliance," Ta-1 replied firmly, "and we face our end with dignity and purpose." The captain stood, wincing at the pain in his side where shrapnel had struck him during the initial impact. He looked at each crew member in turn, each a different species, each with their own unique biology, yet all united under the banner of the Galactic Alliance. Engineer Hyun, focus on extending life support. Officer Jin, establish a medical area in the mess hall. Chief Dae, inventory our supplies. Navigator Moon, continue scanning for any habitable worlds nearby. Officer Kang, analyze the anomaly data. In case our message is received, the Alliance should understand what happened. Officer Jun, keep broadcasting. The rest of you, assist where needed." The crew moved with renewed purpose, grateful for the direction. Tadwan made his way to the damaged view screen, which flickered occasionally to show the star field outside. The anomaly had disappeared, leaving them stranded in an unfamiliar region of space. Later, as the ship's cycle shifted to night mode, Ta-1 recorded his personal message in his quarters. He spoke of his pride in his crew, his love for his family back home, and his hope that the Alliance would continue to unite different species in peace. When he finished, he reviewed the ship's status. Hyun had managed to extend life support to 14 days by shutting down entire sections of the ship. The crew now lived in just 3 areas: the bridge, the mess hall, and a small portion of the crew quarters. Tadwan made his way to the observation deck. It was unpressurized now, so he wore an environmental suit. Through the cracked but intact window, he watched as their distress signal pulsed outward, invisible radio waves carrying their final words into the darkness. "Not how I imagined my final command," he said to himself. He stood there for a long time, watching distant stars. In all his years of service, he had never felt so small, so isolated. The Alliance spanned thousands of worlds, hundreds of species. Yet here they were, 8 individuals who would disappear without a trace. Unless... No, he would not allow himself false hope. The chances of anyone detecting their primitive radio signal were astronomically low. And even if someone did, they would be decades too late. As the ship's systems conserved power, shutting down section by section, the Serene Harmony grew quieter. The crew gathered in the mess hall, sharing stories of home, of adventures across the stars. Different species with different beliefs, each facing their end in their own way. Their message continued to pulse outward, a desperate cry in an indifferent universe. Little did they know, their signal would soon reach someone who still listened to the old frequencies, someone who understood that a call for help should never go unanswered. Ellie Park stared at the small plant she kept on her console. The leaves were starting to turn brown at the edges. 3 months in deep space was hard on living things. 3 months alone in the void was even harder. She touched the dry soil with her finger and reached for her water bottle. "Sorry, buddy. I've been neglecting you," she said, pouring a small amount into the pot. The mining vessel Tenacity hummed around her, a constant companion on her solo expedition. Outside her viewport, the stars remained fixed points in the endless black. Ellie checked her mining quota on the tablet. She was ahead of schedule. Good news. The bonus would help pay off her mother's medical bills back on Earth. She stretched, feeling the stiffness in her shoulders. The Tenacity wasn't built for comfort. It was a workhorse, designed to extract valuable minerals from asteroids in the outer rim, far from the bustle of the inner colonies. The ship was small, efficient, and sturdy, much like Ellie herself. A sudden beep from her console broke the monotony. Ellie frowned. This far out, unexpected alerts usually meant trouble. "What's this?" she muttered, adjusting the receiver. The sound was faint, barely distinguishable from the background static. She increased the gain and filtered out the cosmic noise. A voice emerged from the static, distorted but unmistakable. A distress call. Ellie leaned forward, her tired eyes suddenly alert. "Computer, clean up this signal." The computer processed the request, and the message became clearer. Galactic Alliance vessel, Serene Harmony *. Catastrophic damage. Life support failing. Position unknown. If anyone receives this message, please inform Alliance Command of our fate. The message repeated, broadcast on a frequency that hadn't been used for official communications in decades. Primitive radio waves, the kind of technology space travelers had abandoned once quantum communication became standard. Computer, analyze signal origin. After a moment, the computer displayed coordinates. Ellie checked them against her planned route. The source was approximately 2 days off course, a significant detour that would cut into her mining time and jeopardize her quota. She bit her lip. Company protocol was clear in these situations. Log the anomaly, report it to Earth Central when in range, and continue operations. The outer rim was full of old signals and space junk. Most distress calls discovered out here were decades or even centuries old, their senders long dead. But something about this one felt different. The desperation in the voice sounded current. Ellie played the message again. She didn't recognize the term Galactic Alliance. It wasn't a human organization, and humans hadn't encountered any other spacefaring civilizations yet, at least not officially. She opened the company handbook on her tablet, flipping to the section on first contact protocols. It was brief. If evidence of non-human intelligence is discovered, secure all data, avoid direct contact, and return to Earth immediately. Ellie looked back at the coordinates, then at her mining schedule. The company would fire her for this. She'd lose her bonus and probably end up blacklisted from future deep space contracts. Her finger hovered over the navigation console. To hell with protocol, she said, programming the new coordinates. If someone's out there dying, they're not dying alone. The Tenacity's engines rumbled as it changed course. Ellie sent a brief message to Earth Central, knowing it would take weeks to reach them. Investigating potential distress signal. We'll resume mining operations afterward. Park out. For 2 days, the Tenacity pushed through space toward the signal's origin. Ellie slept little, checking and rechecking her equipment. She inventoried her emergency supplies and medical kit. If this really was a ship in distress, she wanted to be prepared. On the second day, long-range scanners detected something unusual. A ship, but unlike any human design Ellie had ever seen. Its hull was smooth and curved, with no visible propulsion system, and it was massive. At least 10 times the size of the Tenacity. Computer, scan for life signs. The computer beeped affirmatively. Multiple organic signatures detected. Species unknown. Ellie's heart pounded. This was real. This was happening. She was about to make first contact with an alien civilization. As the Tenacity approached the damaged vessel, Ellie could see the extent of its injuries. A large section of the hull had been torn open, exposing internal decks to the vacuum of space. Emergency force fields flickered weakly, struggling to maintain pressure in the undamaged sections. This is mining vessel Tenacity to Serene Harmony *. Ellie broadcast on the same frequency as the distress call. I've received your distress signal and am approaching to offer assistance. Please respond. After a long moment, a surprised voice answered. This is Captain Tawan of the Serene Harmony *. Who is this? You're not Alliance. My name is Ellie Park. I'm a mining operator from Earth. I picked up your distress call. Another long pause. Earth? You're human. Last time I checked, Ellie replied, trying to keep her voice steady despite her excitement and fear. I'm preparing to dock with your vessel. Can you guide me to a functioning airlock? The voice that replied sounded shocked. You received our signal. That's impossible. Radio waves wouldn't reach any civilized system for decades. Well, I got it, Ellie said simply. And I'm here to help if I can. She guided the Tenacity toward the airlock indicated by Captain Tawan. The docking procedure was tense. The systems were not designed to be compatible, but after several attempts, she managed to create a secure seal. Ellie put on her environmental suit, not knowing what atmosphere the alien ship maintained. She checked her oxygen levels, grabbed her emergency kit, and stood at the airlock, taking deep breaths to calm her racing heart. I'm coming aboard, she said into her comm. The airlock cycled, and Ellie stepped through into history. The corridor before her was dimly lit by emergency lighting. The architecture was strange, curves and angles that didn't follow human design principles. The air was breathable, according to her suit sensors, though slightly higher in oxygen than Earth standard. She removed her helmet and inhaled cautiously. The air smelled faintly metallic. 3 figures stood at the end of the corridor, watching her uncertainly. Ellie gasped. They were clearly not human. One had scaled skin and 4 eyes. Another had 4 arms and an insect-like head. The third appeared mostly humanoid, but with iridescent skin that seemed to shift colors in the dim light. "I'm Ellie Park," she said, stepping forward with her hands open to show she carried no weapons. "I'm here to help." The one in the center, presumably Captain Tawan, stepped forward. "How did you find us? And why would you come? Your species isn't even part of the Alliance." Ellie shrugged. "You called for help. I heard you. That's reason enough, isn't it?" As the aliens led her deeper into the damaged ship, Ellie realized that she had just become humanity's first unofficial ambassador to the stars. What had begun as a routine mining operation had turned into the most important mission of her life. Captain Tawan led Ellie through the damaged corridors of the Serene Harmony *. The ship's emergency lights cast strange shadows on the walls. Tawan still couldn't believe his eyes. After accepting their deaths, a rescuer had arrived, but not one he could have ever expected. "You're human?" he asked again, studying the small bipedal figure walking beside him. He recalled reading briefings about a newly spacefaring race from a backwater system. Humans were considered primitive by Alliance standards. They had only recently developed near-light travel and had yet to be formally contacted by the Alliance. "Yes," Ellie replied, her eyes on her handheld scanner rather than on the alien captain. "And according to these readings, you have about 47 hours before your life support fails completely." The bridge of the Serene Harmony fell silent as Ellie entered. The surviving crew members stared at her with a mixture of hope and disbelief. 7 different species, all adapted to different worlds, united under the Alliance banner, and now dependent on a human they'd never met before. Engineer Hyun approached, her 4 eyes blinking in sequence. One of her tentacles gestured at Ellie. "Why would you come? Your species isn't even part of the Alliance. You didn't know we existed until today." Ellie looked up from her scanner and shrugged. "You called for help. I heard you." The simplicity of her answer stunned the aliens into silence. Medical Officer Jin was the first to recover. "Can your vessel accommodate us? We require different atmospheric conditions." Ellie's face fell slightly. "My ship is a mining vessel, not a passenger carrier. It barely has room for me." "Then you came for nothing," Security Officer Suho said, his crystalline body reflecting the emergency lights. "We appreciate the gesture, but—" "I didn't say I couldn't do it," Ellie interrupted. "I said it would be difficult." She pulled up a schematic of her ship on her scanner and showed it to the crew. "The Tenacity has a cargo bay. It's not pressurized or heated, but I can work with that. I also have mining equipment that can help us." Captain Tawan folded his arms. "How exactly?" "Let me show you," Ellie said. For the next 6 hours, Ellie worked tirelessly. She moved between her ship and the Serene Harmony salvaging materials and repurposing equipment. The crew watched in amazement as she transformed her cargo bay into a series of sealed chambers. Using plastic sheeting from the Serene Harmony's emergency supplies and sealant from her mining equipment, Ellie created separate environments within her cargo hold. She repurposed atmosphere regulators from both ships to create the different conditions each species required. "This goes against all safety regulations," Security Officer Suho protested as he watched her weld another seal into place. "So does dying," Ellie replied without looking up from her work. By the 20th hour, the makeshift life support systems were ready. Ellie had created 8 separate chambers, one for each alien crew member. Each chamber was connected to the main ship systems, but maintained its own atmospheric conditions. "It's not pretty," Ellie admitted as she showed Captain Tawan her work, "but it should keep everyone alive until we reach the nearest outpost." Tawan touched one of the sealed chambers. "You did this with mining equipment." "Mining in space requires a lot of innovation," Ellie said. "You learn to use what you have." Communications Officer June was the first to test his chamber. His insect-like head swiveled as he examined the small space. "The atmosphere is acceptable," he said after a moment. One by one, the other crew members tested their chambers. Despite their different needs, Ellie had managed to create suitable conditions for each of them. "How far to the nearest Alliance outpost?" Ellie asked, as they prepared to leave the Serene Harmony *. Navigator Moon consulted her datapad. "If your ship can maintain standard speed, about 16 days. Ellie's face paled slightly. 16 days? These chambers aren't designed for that long. "We have no choice," Captain Tawan said. Unless what?" Ellie asked. "There is a trading post on the edge of this sector. It's not Alliance, but they might have supplies we could use. It would add 3 days to our journey, but it might be worth it." Ellie nodded. "Then that's where we'll go." Before leaving the Serene Harmony *, the crew gathered their most essential items. Captain Tawan downloaded the ship's logs, while Engineer Hyun collected technical data about the anomaly that had damaged their vessel. "We should take samples," Science Officer Kang suggested. "The Alliance will want to study what happened here." Ellie helped them load their equipment onto the Tenacity *. The small mining vessel was cramped, but they had no alternative. As they prepared to depart, Captain Tawan took one last look at his ship. The Serene Harmony * was one of the finest vessels in the Alliance fleet, he said quietly. "I'm sorry you had to leave her behind," Ellie said. Tawan turned to her. "Why did you really come? No one would risk their life for strangers they've never met." Ellie considered the question. "Where I come from? There's an old saying, the only thing necessary for evil to triumph is for good people to do nothing. I heard someone needed help. Doing nothing wasn't an option." With the crew safely aboard the Tenacity *, Ellie disconnected from the Serene Harmony *. The damaged Alliance vessel drifted away, a ghost ship that would forever float in the void. The first day aboard the Tenacity * was challenging. The makeshift life support systems required constant monitoring. Ellie barely slept, checking each chamber hourly to ensure it maintained the proper conditions. On the second day, Engineer Hyun offered to help. Despite her different biology, she quickly learned how to monitor the human equipment. "Your technology is primitive," she noted, "but effective in its simplicity." Ellie smiled. "Sometimes simple is better. Fewer things to go wrong." By the third day, they had established a routine. The alien crew took turns helping Ellie maintain the ship and the environmental chambers. Despite their differences, they found ways to communicate and work together. As they approached the trading post, Captain Tawan joined Ellie in the cockpit. "You've saved our lives," he said. "The Alliance will be grateful." Ellie kept her eyes on the controls. "I didn't do it for gratitude." "I know," Tawan replied. "That's what makes it remarkable." The trading post appeared on their sensors, a small station orbiting a lifeless moon. It wasn't much, but it represented their best chance at obtaining the supplies they needed for the long journey ahead. Ellie opened a communication channel. "Trading Post Oran. This is mining vessel Tenacity * requesting permission to dock. We have an emergency situation." The response was immediate. "Mining vessel Tenacity *. This is Trading Post Oran. We see you on our sensors. Are those Alliance life signs aboard your vessel?" Ellie glanced at Tawan. "Yes, that's correct. I'm carrying survivors from an Alliance ship. We need supplies." A long pause followed. "Stand by. Tenacity *. Tawan leaned closer to Ellie. "Is something wrong?" "I don't know," Ellie replied. "But I have a feeling our rescue just got more complicated." The Tenacity * crawled through the emptiness of space, its engines straining under the unusual burden. The small mining vessel was never meant to support 9 different life forms. Its systems groaned in protest, but somehow kept working. In the cockpit, Ellie Park's eyes burned from lack of sleep. Dark circles had formed beneath them, and her movements had become slow and deliberate. She hadn't had more than 2 hours of uninterrupted rest since leaving the trading post 3 days ago. Environmental control in Chamber 3 is dropping again, she muttered to herself, adjusting the settings. Security Officer Suho needed a higher temperature than the others. His crystalline body would start to crack if the temperature fell too low. Behind her, the makeshift environmental chambers filled the cargo bay. Each one housed a different alien, each requiring unique atmospheric conditions. The chambers hummed and whirred, consuming precious power and resources. Ellie checked the ship's reserves. They had enough oxygen for 11 more days if nothing went wrong. The nearest Alliance outpost was 9 days away. The margin for error was dangerously thin. She rationed everything: power, food, water, even conversation. Every word spoken consumed oxygen. Every movement generated heat that the environmental systems had to compensate for. Efficiency wasn't just preferred, it was necessary for survival. "You should sleep," a voice said from behind her. Ellie turned to see Captain Ta-1 standing in the doorway to the cockpit. Unlike the others, his biology was similar enough to human that he could breathe the ship's standard atmosphere for short periods. "Can't," Ellie replied, turning back to the controls. "Chamber 5 needs monitoring. Engineer Hyun's oxygen levels keep fluctuating." Tai-1 moved closer, his eyes scanning the readouts. "I can watch them. I've been observing how you do it." Ellie hesitated. The lives of 8 aliens depended on her maintaining these systems correctly. One mistake could be fatal. "Just for an hour," Tai-1 insisted. "You'll be no good to anyone if you collapse." Reluctantly, Ellie nodded. She showed him the critical indicators and explained what to watch for. Then she made her way to her small sleeping quarters, set an alarm for 1 hour, and fell into a deep sleep almost instantly. She woke to the sound of alarms. The hour had stretched to 3, and something was wrong. Ellie rushed to the cockpit, adrenaline clearing the fog of sleep from her mind. "What happened?" she demanded. Tai-1 looked up from the controls, his face grim. "Chamber 7 is losing pressure. I've been trying to stabilize it, but—" Ellie pushed past him, her fingers flying over the controls. Chamber 7 housed Communications Officer June, whose insect-like respiratory system required a specific gas mixture. "The seal is failing," Ellie said. "We need to move him." "Move him where?" Ta-1 asked. "Each chamber is specifically designed for each crew member." Ellie thought quickly. "We'll have to double up. Who has the most compatible needs?" They consulted the atmospheric charts. Medical Officer Jin and Navigator Moon could potentially share a chamber for a few hours, long enough for Ellie to repair the seal on June's chamber. The transfer was delicate work. June's exoskeleton made him more resistant to vacuum than the others, but not immune. They had to create an airlock system using plastic sheeting and duct tape. The entire process took nearly 2 hours, with June's life hanging in the balance. When he was finally safe in the shared chamber, Ellie set to work repairing the failed seal. Her hands were steady despite her exhaustion, her movements precise. During a quiet moment as the sealant dried, Tai-1 found her checking oxygen levels again. "Why risk everything for strangers?" he asked, watching her work. "Your own people didn't even know we existed until now." Ellie considered this, her hands still moving methodically over the controls. "On Earth, sailors never ignore a distress call. It's one of our oldest laws of the sea. I guess we brought it to the stars." "Your people have good laws," Tai-1 said quietly. "Not always," Ellie replied, "but we try." The days blurred together as they continued their journey. The ship's systems required constant attention. What should have been a routine trip became a minute-by-minute struggle for survival. On the 6th day, disaster struck. The recycler failed, the critical system that processed carbon dioxide back into breathable oxygen. Ellie stared at the broken unit in dismay. Without it, they would run out of air long before reaching the Alliance outpost. Can you fix it? Ta-1 asked, watching her examine the unit. Some parts are completely burned out, Ellie replied. I don't have replacements. Engineer Hyun insisted on seeing the problem herself. Ellie helped her out of her chamber, supporting the aliens' weight as they made their way to the damaged recycler. Hyun's 4 eyes studied the broken machine. One of her tentacles reached out to touch it. Primitive, she said, but I understand the principles. We might be able to adapt one of our atmospheric converters. For the next 12 hours, Ellie and Hyun worked together, trying to combine human and alien technologies that were never designed to be compatible. The other crew members contributed what they could, parts from personal devices, knowledge of chemical processes, even materials from their clothing. Medical Officer Jin watched from her chamber as Ellie and Hyun connected wires and tubes between the human recycler and an alien converter. Impossible, Jin said, her iridescent skin flashing with disbelief. Your species shouldn't be able to adapt so quickly. That's kind of our thing, Ellie replied with a tired smile. Against all odds, the hybrid system worked. It wasn't pretty or efficient, but it processed enough air to keep them alive. Another crisis averted, another day survived. As they passed the halfway point to the Alliance outpost, the crew settled into a fragile routine. Ellie continued to monitor the environmental chambers, but now the aliens helped more. They took turns watching the systems, allowing Ellie to sleep in 3-hour stretches. During these quiet moments, they shared stories. Ellie told them about Earth, its oceans and forests, its cities and people. The aliens described their home worlds, worlds with 3 suns or endless rain, with floating cities or underground networks. The Alliance has over 200 member species, Navigator Moon explained, each with their own culture and history. We work together, learn from each other. You would be welcome among us. Sounds nice, Ellie said. Better than mining asteroids alone. On the 8th day, they encountered an asteroid field not marked on any charts. The Tenacity was designed for mining, not for complex navigation. Ellie had to pilot manually, weaving between the massive rocks while maintaining the delicate balance of life support systems. It was Security Officer Suho who saved them. His crystalline sensory organs could detect density patterns invisible to both human scanners and alien technology. He guided Ellie through the field, calling out directions as she piloted. Left. Now right. Smaller rock approaching from below. For 3 hours, they navigated the treacherous field, their lives depending on the strange partnership between human reflexes and alien perception. When they finally emerged, Ellie slumped in her chair, exhausted but triumphant. Captain Ta-1 placed a hand on her shoulder, a gesture he had learned from observing her. One more day, he said. One more day, and we reach the outpost. Ellie nodded, too tired to speak. One more day of keeping 8 aliens alive in a ship designed for 1 human. One more day of impossible challenges and makeshift solutions. One more day until they made history. The Alliance outpost horizon stood like a gleaming jewel against the blackness of space. Its elegant spirals and domes reflected distant starlight, a testament to the advanced engineering of the Galactic Alliance. Inside the outpost's traffic control center, Officer Kun was having a routine day. He monitored the comings and goings of Alliance vessels, logged cargo manifests, and occasionally directed ships to appropriate docking bays. Incoming vessel at Sector 4, his computer announced. Unidentified design. Kun frowned. Unidentified vessels were rare in Alliance space. He activated the communication channel. Unidentified vessel. This is Alliance Outpost Horizon. Please identify yourself and state your purpose. Static crackled. Then a tired female voice responded. This is mining vessel Tenacity from Earth, requesting emergency docking. I have 8 survivors from the Alliance ship Serene Harmony on board. Kun froze. The Serene Harmony had been declared lost 3 weeks ago. And Earth. That was the home planet of those primitive humans the Alliance had been monitoring from a distance. Please repeat, he said, unable to believe what he was hearing. This is Ellie Park of the Tenacity *. I have Captain Ta-1 and 7 crew members from the Serene Harmony on board. They need immediate medical attention. Kun's fingers flew across his console, alerting the station's commanders. Within minutes, the outpost was in an uproar. Medical teams rushed to prepare receiving areas for 8 different species. Security protocols for first contact situations were hastily reviewed. The Tenacity appeared on visual sensors, a small battered vessel clearly designed for industrial use rather than passenger transport. It moved slowly toward the outpost, its engines struggling. By the stars, Commander Yoon whispered, watching the approach. It shouldn't even be flying. When the Tenacity finally docked, medical teams rushed aboard. They found 8 Alliance crew members alive but weakened, each housed in a makeshift environmental chamber cobbled together from mining equipment and salvaged parts. And then there was Ellie Park, a small, exhausted human who had accomplished the impossible. The station's medical bay became a flurry of activity as doctors treated the survivors. Ellie herself collapsed from exhaustion shortly after docking and woke up 12 hours later in a medical bed. They're all going to make it, a doctor told her when she asked about the crew. Thanks to you. News of the rescue spread quickly throughout Alliance space. A human, a member of a species not yet officially contacted by the Alliance, had saved high-ranking officials. The diplomatic implications were enormous. The Alliance Council convened an emergency session. For 3 days, they debated what this meant for their non-interference policy regarding developing civilizations. Earth had been classified as a Level 2 world, technologically advanced enough for regional space travel, but not yet ready for full galactic integration. Captain Ta-1, still recovering but determined to be heard, addressed the council. This human risked everything with no expectation of reward or recognition, he testified, his voice still weak but resolute. She used mining equipment to save lives. She rationed her own food and water to keep us alive. She went without sleep for days. If humans can do this with such limited technology, imagine what they might contribute as allies. Engineer Hyun spoke next, describing how Ellie had combined incompatible technologies to create a functioning hybrid system. Humans possess an adaptability we have rarely seen, she told the council. They think differently. They see solutions where we see only problems. The council deliberated further, weighing centuries of careful policy against this unprecedented situation. In the end, the decision was unanimous. Formal contact with Earth would begin immediately, with Ellie Park serving as the first point of connection. For Ellie, the weeks following the rescue were disorienting. She was debriefed by countless Alliance officials, asked to demonstrate her engineering solutions, and consulted on human culture and society. Her mining company, rather than firing her for abandoning her route, found itself suddenly elevated to diplomatic significance. 5 months later, humanity received its first official communication from the Galactic Alliance. The message, broadcast worldwide, began with the story of how one human miner had changed the course of galactic history. Governmental leaders from Earth were invited to Alliance Outpost Horizon for a formal treaty signing. Ellie, uncomfortable with her newfound fame, was required to attend. 6 months to the day after the rescue, Ellie stood in a formal uniform in the Grand Hall of Outpost Horizon. Around her, dignitaries from Earth and representatives from dozens of Alliance species mingled nervously, the first steps of a historic relationship. "You look miserable," a familiar voice said. Ellie turned to see Engineer Hyun approaching, her 4 eyes blinking in what Ellie now recognized as amusement. The alien had fully recovered, her scales gleaming with health. "I'm not good at ceremonies," Ellie replied, tugging at her stiff collar. "I'd rather be back in my ship." "Soon enough," Captain Ta-1 said, joining them. His recovery had been slower, but he stood tall now, wearing his formal Alliance uniform. "The Alliance has appointed you to lead our first joint exploration mission." Ellie's eyes widened. "Me? I'm just a miner. You're the perfect choice, Taiwan said. You understand both worlds. The Council believes you represent the best qualities of humanity: resourcefulness, compassion, and courage. Across the hall, Earth's Secretary General and the Alliance High Council members signed the official treaty. Applause erupted throughout the chamber, marking the beginning of a new era. Behind the dignitaries, a memorial had been installed. It displayed the original distress signal sent by the Serene Harmony and Ellie's response, a simple message that had changed everything. This is mining vessel Tenacity. I heard your call. I'm coming. Hold on. Later that evening, after the ceremonies concluded, Ellie stood alone at a viewport, looking out at the stars. The vastness of the galaxy stretched before her, no longer empty and lonely, but filled with new possibilities. Captain Taiwan found her there. "What are you thinking?" he asked, standing beside her. "I'm thinking about all those signals," Ellie replied. "All those calls for help traveling through space. I wonder how many we've missed." "We won't miss them now," Taiwan said. "Not with humans listening." 6 weeks later, the exploration vessel Harmony Tenacious departed from Earth's orbit. Its crew consisted of humans and Alliance members working side by side. At its helm stood Captain Ellie Park, no longer a simple miner but humanity's first true navigator among the stars. As the ship accelerated toward unexplored space, Ellie looked back at the small blue planet growing distant behind them, a planet whose sailors had, for centuries, lived by one simple rule: never ignore a call for help. That rule had carried them to the stars, and now it would carry them beyond.